Hi everybody, and I'm dedicating this late live stream, really I should just say late live stream, to my mentor Chester McGuire, who passed away last week and who I flew back here to Oakland to lay to rest today. And it was a very hard day and contributed to why I'm late starting this live stream, but I wanted to make absolutely certain that what I am presenting to you as promised would be full and complete detail. So thank you all to those who stuck around, suffered through from an entertainment standpoint, say for one play, if you look at it bluntly, horrible Thursday night football game, and waited around to see, hey, if we're gonna come on, and yes, here we are coming on. I have some very, very big news. As you all come in to assemble, I'm going to read it to you, and what I'm doing right now, first of all, is I am taking the text from what I wrote, and I'm about to paste it into the description area below right now, so that it will be up for those of you who wish to read it as we're talking. I have just saved that information. It is now in. All you have to do is go to the description area right down below, click on it, you can read the text. It's in full. And I'm changing the advanced settings to sports right there. Double checking the other basic info, like the title, getting the key meta tags out of the way here, there, that's there. And one more change and one more addition, and I'll be completely focused on you, and I am now completely focused on you and tweeting out everything else as well. So what I'm going to do is, before I take your comments and read your comments, I'm going to read what I wrote to you, and which is also in the text below, all right? And much appreciate any thumbs up you can add. Hey, Barry Lee and everyone else. And there's a specific reason for that. I'll tell you bluntly, I want more thumbs up than usual because I want more people to see this. This is full and complete information why there is a gigantic problem with the Raiders Las Vegas Stadium project. And I mean gigantic in terms of cost overruns, okay? So I'm going to start reciting it right now, saying hello. And here we go. It goes just like this, folks. And I'm going to read the text to you, and then we'll talk, all right? It's not long, so don't worry. Now I'm reading it. While the Oakland Raiders are being dragged into plans for a politically driven Las Vegas NFL stadium groundbreaking, my sources, including Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak, I should commission chairman, out of respect, Steve Sisolak, including Clark County Commission Chairman Steve Sisolak, have provided information that points to significant cost overruns for the planned new home for the Silver and Black. First, Commissioner Sisolak, who's also running for governor of Nevada, or for Nevada governor, issued a tweet on October 24th that read, quote, "For those who are calling, the Raiders continue to do soil and geologic testing on the Vegas Stadium site. When I asked via my video live stream why it has taken the Oakland Raiders 7 months to complete a study that normally takes a month, and why they started the study before buying the land March 31st, then bought the land May 2nd, and now are still doing soil studies. A person who's in the right place to know about sports stadium construction issues wrote an email to me out of the blue that read, and I quote, "It may be the Raiders are doing a second soils test because the first one that was done resulted in worse than expected values with resulting higher costs, and they are shopping for a more friendly soils report." That person who wrote what I just recited to you has 25 years of experience in this area of sports stadium construction. I kid you not, folks. I can't say who he is. It was a gift from heaven. For all I know, he may be working on the Oakland Raiders Las Vegas NFL Stadium project as I talk. And then there's this email I received from another source. It goes like this. That quote, that in parentheses, Raiders Russell Road site area floods almost every year 12 to 32 inches of water. That's why Mark Davis has to pay to expand the sewerage and draining system. That $500 million extra doesn't cover that cost. I forgot a few months back I had to take a lead safety class. The guy teaching the class is an Oakland Raiders fan. He did the testing on the Vegas land. He said the lead and asbestos levels on that land is unacceptably high. Is unacceptable. So the guy who teaches the lead safety class is from Hayward. He moved to LA some years back. His company does lead and asbestos testing. His company is the first and the largest lead, asbestos, and hazardous testing company. The contractors sent him the samples. He told the class that Russell Road had unexpectedly high levels of lead and asbestos. They sent him 10 sample areas. He said they can send 1,000 samples. It would all come up the same. So when I followed up with a source to determine if he meant that the $500 million was actually the total new cost for on-site infrastructure because of the drainage problem, he said yes. So that adds $150 million onto the cost of the Las Vegas NFL Stadium project to date. All right. So here's where we are right now because of that. Construction costs are at $1,325 million. Excuse me. Construction costs are at $1,325 million. Land, infrastructure, on-site costs are at $500 million because of what I told you. They were previously at $350 million. Off-site transportation infrastructure costs per Senate Bill 1 in the NDOT report, $450 million. Off-site non-transportation infrastructure costs per Clark County, that's the parking, that's $195 million. Now you would say, where did that come from? That's just over 67 acres, assuming $2.9 million per acre purchased. Why 67 acres? Because you need 14,000 parking spaces, and the average size of each parking space leads to, when you consider 14,000 parking spaces, and this is a conservative estimate, a 67 acre land parcel size, okay? Or land site size, excuse me, okay? Then, of course, there's the NFL relocation fee. That's $370 million. The practice facility at $100 million. There's a contingency of $100 million. And so the total project cost now comes in at a cool $3,040 million. That's $3,040 million. Meanwhile, the total funding sources don't help the situation. They are as follows. The team investment of $500 million, and that consists of the $200 million PSLs, the $100 million that was from the NFL, and the additional $200 million in the NFL G4 loan. Okay. Then there's the public investment. That's the $750 million subsidy from the Las Vegas Stadium Authority / Clark County. And then there's the private investment, the Bank of America loan, 30 years of $850 million. So you have total funding sources, $2,100 million. So what does that equal? It equals a total net NFL stadium project revenue of negative. Again, negative negative $940 million. So that's your cost overrun, okay? That's your cost overrun. That doesn't deal with operating losses. The operating losses I calculated before were at negative $362 million because when the Bank of America loan was proposed, the only numbers that I had to use to park that, if you will, park that loan in, were what the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee created in 2016 for the stadium, including both event and non-event revenues, and that includes naming rights. It's all there. So I added the Bank of America loan to that, and I got a negative free stadium operating cash flow of $362 million. That's negative $362 million because of the Bank of America loan debt. No one has identified additional revenue to cover that loan. And the revenue that's already parked in the SNTIC estimates would have to be increased to match that loan, which leads to the question, can you really obtain prices so high for concessions that would be nosebleed, an enormously large naming rights agreement, and other sponsorships to pay off that loan? That's what you would need. The SNTIC numbers show no. So what we have, because of the Bank of America loan, is an operating loss. So you have two losses. You have cost overruns and operating losses. Note, cost overruns and operating losses were exactly what Shell and Adelson said he and Las Vegas Sands would cover. In fact, his chief operating officer, Robert Goldstein, said as much on September 8th of 2016, at the SNTIC meeting. It's in black and white. You can look it up for yourself, all right? So what's the total project operating cash flow? It clocks in at $1,302 million approximately, or if you want the exact number, it's $1,302,353,120. And what that produces is a return on investment of a negative 42.84%. That is a negative 42.84%, all right? So as you can see, the Bank of America loan causes a giant operating loss that has not been addressed in the way of additional revenue from any known source. The estimates are based on what stadium consultants and the Raiders produced in 2016. So we have a negative $362 million operating loss. Add the cost overrun, as I told you, and the project is set to be $1.3 billion in the hole as of this writing. Basically, the Raiders have to fill a giant Las Vegas NFL stadium funding gap of $1.3 billion. And this consists entirely of money they would never have to spend for a new stadium in Oakland. And so with that, I will take your comments and questions right now. That's it, all right? So here we go, and I say hello to everybody. Now, and Pedro, I did include interest on the BFA loan. Hi, Pedro. Hi, Crawford. And so we've got, let's see here. As John Marks pointed out, you can't do business with a negative figure. And we have, let's see here. Rick Rice, how are you? Rick Rice says Sisolak wants long sleeve collared shirts under his Raider jersey. Where's, okay. John Marks, Crawford says John Marks is already doing the preliminary lawsuit draft. Eric Madison says digging themselves into a hole. No pun intended. Yep. Yep. And that's right. So, Rick Rice, hey, Joe Flacco was an elite quarterback. You're right, Rick Rice. You're quite right. Joseph Bensman, how are you? Eric Madison said that was a bad football game. Yes, it was. And thank you for the condolences, Mr. Madison, when you say sorry for the loss. And Rick Rice says Zenny Choo shoes. Those are the kind of heels that Brooke Shields would wear. Rick Rice. I love Brooke Shields. I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying. Joshua, how are you? 32 Assassin, it's been a long time. Welcome. Raider Nation 101 is first. Welcome, Raider Nation 101. Thank you for being here. And as John Marks points out, even Donald Trump can't do business without money. And Donald John Trump, 45th president, hello, how are you? And let's see here. Crawford 371 says, I wonder when they do the first dig at the ceremony, I wonder will they will sink in. Could happen. Oh my gosh. Let's see here. We've got Pedro. Ed Flores, how are you? Ed Flores. So, let's see here. Ed Flores say, hello, Zinni. If those number estimates prove to be accurate, and they are, what is the likelihood Mark Davis would consider staying in Oakland? Well, here's your first clue. They're already negotiating for a longer extension. I don't care what anyone says or what groundbreaking comes up. The Oakland Raiders are here. Here. And they are in a position where they really have to hedge their bets because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that this project is in trouble from the outset. And so Bobby Shane's talking about Vegas GDP at something that is, Bobby, I'm going to say this very politely, you have no idea what you're talking about. Okay. So there, I mean, no idea. So you want to revise that. And if you want to make an argument for why the stadium can pay for itself, bring it. But what I'm explaining to you, okay, is that it's not the Vegas economy. It's the project and who around will step forward to pay that $1.3 billion. And no one has. Remember, you have a number of casinos that are in, or in some cases just coming out of bankruptcy. You haven't had any casino, save for Las Vegas Sands, step forward and write a check to date of that size. So it isn't a matter of, oh, they will. Look, it hasn't happened. And yet, if a casino writes a check, they're only going to want to write it to get something back. It's not going to be a philanthropic, okay, writing of a gigantic sum of money just to say, oh, we love you and all this. That's not how it works. They're going to want something back. And that is going to run afoul of the National Football League like it did before. So, so here we go. We've got Pedro Guerrero says, the NFL should help Raiders, only team in California, filling up stadium with their own fans. 32 Assassin says, funny how sports mass media has gotten awful quiet on any Vegas move talk, just casual mentions, because they don't know enough. And this gets to the problem of media today, and it was outlined for me at the NFL owners meeting I attended last week. Hopefully you were able to watch my live stream. But there was a person who was eyeing and looking at there was a person who was eyeing me as I was making the live stream at the NFL owners meeting at the Conrad. By the way, I have to say one more time, the Conrad's a gorgeous hotel. Oh my God. But anyway, she was with the New York Post, and she told me that their editors are saying, well, there's nothing going on here. And yet there is everything going on here. You're at an NFL owners meeting. That's something that's going on. And part of the fun is in waiting to talk to this owner or that, or get information on this or that. That's the way it is. And I capture that on live stream. So the way the media looks at things is there's no action with this project, you know? Whereas there is a lot of action with it. A ton of it. And we don't live in an era where investigative journalism is well funded, like it was. So there's the problems. Now, let's see here. You've got Coach CSU's Ram says, Raiders are in Oakland to stay. Hi, Zinni. And this is off topic. Derek Carr has his own YouTube channel. It is legit, and he does live stream where you can talk to him. Oh, is that right? Okay, thanks for the info. Pedro Garda says, by the way, I don't mind Raiders wearing white at home if we win. Great point there. And Michael Madrala says, why haven't you presented your findings at the Las Vegas Stadium Authority meetings? Well, I haven't been to the meetings to present them, and I have shared them with any number of people. I was contacted by someone I will not name, who is a friend, who is a major consultant on the project, who criticized my bond issue estimate, and I'll just say this straight out, he said that, and wrote to me in an email, that he used a lower debt service estimate, but he didn't answer the question. How much lower than 44 million? Is it 37 million? And how did you arrive at that over a 30-year period, and at what interest rate? Okay? And then here's the big, excuse my language, the fucking really annoying thing about that whole exchange for me was that my friend wrote a previous study relating stadiums in Vegas and offered a number of suggested bond issue structures, all of which came to debt services levels of between 44 million and 55 million. So now how can he suddenly come up with something that's lower when his own track record shows debt service levels in the ballpark for what they're supposed to be for, a bond issue of 750 million over 30 years. Okay? So that really stuck in my craw, because it's one thing to say you're wrong, but it's another thing for me, the most valuable outcome of an exchange is to show me where I'm wrong. It's okay, here's our numbers and here are yours. If a person doesn't do that, and I mean numbers, I don't mean cherry picking some article. The people that I communicate with are the actual people that have skin in the game in many cases and are well placed in a number of areas, and that's all I can tell you. They're not guessing, at least from the perspective that, normal, uninitiated, untrained blogger would, right? So I'm very confident in my numbers, and I know where the gaps are. So I know, for example, that if I park in the Bank of America loan, I know that the difference between where the loan pushes the operating costs, and where it was, that gap, I know it has to be filled in by additional revenue. I also know that there's no source around that's actually going to fill in that revenue gap like that. So it's one thing to just sort of bump it up on paper, but it's nothing to justify it. Let me put it another way. Let me say this. Let's say that you have a new restaurant, right? And you know that in order to cover the loan that you receive from the bank, your average food cost is going to have to be $50 per person. Now, how many people out here spend $50 on themselves to eat out? How many? Okay? The simple answer that you're going to offer proves my point. So it's one thing for me to fill in that gap on a spreadsheet and say, oh, bing, 50. But it's another thing for you to actually pay that. That's, all right? And that's where we get into with this. What they're doing, they would say they're not stifling debate, and I would say that they are stifling debate by not giving us the real information regarding the numbers, telling us exactly what is going on, where the pluses and minuses are in the project. It's not hard to figure out. It really isn't. So, yeah, I just had a call, but I'm back now. That's what I was typing, all right? So anyway, we got Eric Madison says, so the Fortress is not off the table. Are they making a deal with the Raiders? I don't know that Fortress is on or off, but I know the Coliseum City is still alive. So since Fortress has the ENA, yes, there you go. Crawford says Marshawn Lynch is a good practice with Oakland Tech this week. Donut said, did Mark Davis make peace with UNLV? And that I don't know. If Flores says, I'm skeptical only because Mark seems like the kind of person that lets his pride get in the way of good business. Zinni, thank you for all the info you provide us on the Raiders. Hey, thank you. I really appreciate that compliment. Thank you very much. And it means a lot to me because I really try to provide you with sound information and a real view of what's going on that you don't get anywhere else. And sad to say, you're not going to get anywhere else. I wish the situation were different, but right now it's not. That's why I also ask that you invest. It's another double shares night. You know, $2 cup of coffee. You know, $20, whatever you can spare. But there you go. So John Marks wants black uniforms. Rick Rice says, you the man, go CSU. And Rick Rice says, they'd be sick if they were all black, including pants, John. I'd purchase those pants and wear them on BART. And Crawford says, they're scared. Facts can be very mean. They just don't calculate for the project. Yeah, they are scared. And that's very true. Yeah, Crawford, I think you're absolutely right. And Eric Madison says, so the Fortress is not off the table. They're making a deal with the Raiders, and I answered that one. Kevin KD, hey Kevin, how are you? And as well as Eric and everybody else. Kevin KD says, why didn't the Raiders just cancel the relocation when Adelson bowed out? Didn't they anticipate all of those costs? No, well, here's the problem, Kevin KD, and that's a fantastic question. First of all, they didn't anticipate the costs because they didn't have to deal with them. Why? Because of what I had said earlier in the live streaming cast, which I'm going to assume you didn't hear, that Las Vegas Sands, Robert Goldstein, said that his organization would cover all operating losses, and cost overruns. And he is the Chief Operating Officer, Robert Goldstein. I'm typing his name in search here. Robert Goldstein. Robert Goldstein is the Goldstein, and then I'm typing SNTIC too. Comes up antics. That's funny. SNTIC. Okay. And Cintiq. All right. And yeah, it says Robert Gold. It says Adelson commits personal wealth to back stadium plan, and that was August 28th. All right. And they have. He says the move forward needs to be quicker than that. This was on July 11th of 2016, where Mr. Goldstein makes a comment about, you know, it's worth going through these minutes from the stadium hearings, because then you get a full and complete picture of how the project took shape and why things are the way they are now. Okay. Mr. Robert Goldstein, President, Chief Operating Officer of Las Vegas Sands, says the move forward needs to be quicker than that. Mr. Bart Bourdain reiterates the Raiders' commitment to the project, but says there needs to be urgency because of the relocation vote in January. And let's see if there's any more. Mr. Goldstein. And see, here's why. Now, here's a key comment that was made by Robert Goldstein, if you're wondering why the Raiders chose this site. Listen to this, folks. Commissioner Sisolak states that the airport option should be ruled out due to the restrictions in place, but that location of the stadium would be a large consideration for non-football related events. Mr. Goldstein agrees and says closer to the strip will be much more valuable due to accessibility as well as exposure. All right? So, so that's where he said that there. That was on the 11th. Now, There's another one by the Review Journal about Adelson committing personal wealth to back the stadium plan. And I'm Kevin Cady. This is basically a long way of answering your question, all right? But this is a pivotal document. It says Las Vegas Sands Corporation Chairman and CEO Sheldon Adelson went to his board of directors this spring with a proposal to fund a 65,000-seat domed football stadium in southern Nevada. The board turned him down. Listen to that. The board turned him down. So he was willing to spend his own money to get the dome built, at least $650 million. And because the stadium's $1.9 billion financing plan calls for the use of $750 million in hotel room tax money, Adelson said he won't receive any return on his personal contribution. And here's a quote from Adelson. The money, the room tax money, we're looking at for is not coming to us, Adelson said in a Thursday interview with the Review Journal. There will be a stadium authority and will be owned by the government. Adelson said his family is willing to contribute to the stadium's construction and startup costs for the same reason they donate millions of dollars to support drug abuse treatment and research. They see it as an investment in the city they call home. It's a community effort, Adelson said. We live here. We're citizens of the community. I don't need the money that's going to be made in the stadium. Adelson, who built exhibition halls in the mid-90s to attract trade shows that filled the city's hotel rooms on midweek days, now sees a new stadium, not new convention space, as the key to keeping the city's tourism economy rolling. He and the NFL's Oakland Raiders are leading the effort to build a stadium in the resort corridor. We have more exhibition space than any city in the United States, for that matter, any city in the world, said Adelson, whose company operates the Sands Expo and Convention Center. The nearby Las Vegas Convention Center, operated by Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, is pursuing a major expansion. But both that project and Adelson's startup partnership are seeking an increase in the Clark County hotel room tax to cover development costs. The Las Vegas Convention Center upgrades will cost $1.4 billion. The room tax contribution to the stadium will be $750 million. And Jim Mirren, the chairman of MGM Resorts, said the stadium is a must-have. That it's a nice-to-have excuse me. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase this. This is a very important statement, folks. I'm about to read you. Okay. Adelson says this. Adelson said the stadium is a must-have, contrary to what MGM Resorts International Chairman and CEO Jim Mirren says that is a nice-to-have. Adelson said in response to a comment Mirren made up to other media. He is completely wrong, Adelson said. Now that's telling, and I'll tell you why. Because it means that MGM is not going to step forward and pony up a lot of money to keep the stadium deal alive if they think it's nice to have. In other words, it's like, oh, it's nice to have, but we don't really need it. Okay? And that's the CEO of MGM Resorts saying that, and Adelson saying, oh, you're completely wrong. And you have to remember something. You have to take a gigantic overhead reminder view of how we got here. We got here because Sheldon Adelson has waged what I call the development equivalent of the 1,000-year war against the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority. He does not want them to get any more money and feels like they're sucking up public money to build convention space that competes against his private space. So this was a gigantic plan to stop that. That's really what this was. It wasn't so much football as an opportunity to win a war that he started waging about, by my estimate, 19 or 21 years ago. Okay? It's a long time. That's a long time. So, all right. At any rate, you've got Adelson says our occupancy in December is down to 50%. For most of December, said Adelson, who says he's the only person in the world who has been a convention center customer, a convention organizer, and a builder of exhibition space. That stadium would help tremendously. Can you imagine what kind of reaction there'd be if we had Manchester United playing Real Madrid in Las Vegas, said Adelson, whose family owns the Review Journal? It would be huge. And the fans wouldn't come in for one day. They come in for those at least 3 days. Now, he mentioned soccer, not football. Think about that. So he said there's a family's decision because the board rejected it. And Adelson took the proposal as family, and his family agreed that it would be in the city's best interest to fund the stadium construction with their own money. He said he discussed it with his wife and his kids, his family, and everything else. And so that originally was when he was going to contribute $650 million of his personal wealth, and then $750 million would be raised from, you know, the subsidy and everything else. So anyway, he said the money, right? He said the money that and I'm saying everything else that you've already heard. Okay, but that's a valuable background to hear. All right, that's valuable background to hear. And see, we've got this. We've got an additional overruns. Pitch for stadium. Sandoval system time for panel. Stadium baggers are down to 2 sites. Yeah, there's a lot. Okay, here we go. Because you remember that the way the SNTIC meeting here is listed, this is May 26th, and it said that Stadco will be responsible for cost overruns. That's the Raiders, okay? And Goldstein presented a timeline, and he said that Mr. Robert Goldstein, President Chief Operating Officer for Las Vegas Sands, says Events Co. will take on a lot of risk, as will the Raiders. Mr. Goldstein reiterates the Raiders are not trying to exploit public money. And let me see here. And that's Goldstein answering for the Raiders, I think is interesting, okay? Those are the only two, all right? So I'll go back to your comments. Now, okay. Oh, hey, go CSU, I'll see you, all right? So Kevin KD, that's a long-winded answer to your question. They didn't cancel it because they didn't foresee a scenario without Adelson to the depth of handling cost overruns. They believed that, and not only that, I believe that when they first ventured on the path of trying to do this without Adelson, the Raiders got a little arrogant and greedy and thought we can get a bank to finance this gap that Adelson is helping us with. But the reality is, first of all, Goldman Sachs didn't want to piss off one of their best clients in Mr. Adelson, and Bank of America had no plan to expose itself in any greater level than $850 million, which is exactly the same loan that was let to the Falcons for their stadium. And note, when I say that, I don't mean to imply that Bank of America has given the loan to the Raiders as of this writing. They have not. Okay, so we've got Joshua agrees, says, do you believe Adelson is still a major player with a situation where he's working against or with the Raiders? He is. His existence, his mere existence implies that, because who's to say he couldn't step in and wouldn't step in? On the other hand, who's to say that he simply isn't waiting for that trigger date to come of May 16th, where the Raiders are basically forced to drop out of the project. It turns over to UNLV, and then Adelson can simply deal with someone in UNLV that is a community representative he has no issue at all with writing a big check for. See? So there you go, Joshua. And Mr. McClendon says, so is Adelson back involved? This is an old statement. Well, this is an old statement of Joshua. I was giving some background as to how we got here with respect to both the site, the cost overruns, and who's going to cover them, that sort of thing, all right? And John Marks, thank you. Yeah, last year, old statement. And I'm still, interested in finding more Goldstein comments here, because SNTIC, September 2016. Okay. More stadium sites up for review. And Timber. Who assumes biggest financial risk? This is good. Who assumes biggest financial risk of a Las Vegas stadium? Panel tackles issue in latest meeting. This is by the Las Vegas Sun. This is by Jackie Valley, who since went to work for the Independent. And she writes, what's the risk of each side of the stadium debate? What's the risk each side of the stadium debate is willing to take? And the developers made their intentions clear. They wanted a public contribution, $750 million, not one capped at 39% of the total project cost. And they rejected any notion of profit sharing provision built in any deal. And Las Vegas Sands said that's non-negotiable. And they partnered with Majestic. And Margaret Goldstein says, I know we've been portrayed as difficult. We tried to present we were putting private dollars into a public stadium. At the end of the day, we bear the risk. And the public meeting, okay, and so basically, oh, and here, get this, all right? I want you to, this is, whoa, folks, listen to this comment that was made to Jackie Valley, or made during this SNTIC meeting by Sisolak, all right? Clark County Commissioner Steve Sisolak, who sits on the committee, said he'd hate to see local entities on the hook for costly roadway improvements and to accommodate stadium traffic. He pressed developers for an answer. Now I remember this one because I was listening to Livestream about when those costs would be known, but didn't get a clear-cut answer. The estimated stadium price tag has grown since the beginning of these conversations, partially because of infrastructure-related variables, Goldstein said. He called the project a high-risk proposition for the developers. Now get this. Robert Goldstein, the chief operating officer for Las Vegas Sands, called this project we're talking about a high-risk proposition for the developers and noted that the infrastructure-related bad variables have caused the project to go up. And that was in 2016. So what are we talking about right now? We're talking about infrastructure-related variables doing what? Going up. Goldstein was absolutely right. So Goldstein was right, but the Raiders sat back because at the time, it was a partnership between Las Vegas Sands, Majestic, and the Raiders. Now, Majestic is gone, as is Sands, and the Raiders are basically left by themselves. So, okay? So, there's a risk, okay, as Chairman Steve Hill said, there's a risk on the public side as well. I think that's part of the justification for proportional investment. And see, developers, however, didn't budge on their request to drop the revenue sharing provision, citing several reasons. They expect return on investment to be minimal. They're shouldering construction and operational cost returns. And they've abandoned the idea of pursuing a tax increment financing district. They did do that. What's a little unfair is the perception somehow that we're getting a great deal. And after more than 3 hours of discussion, I remember they adjourned. I remember that. And then Andy Bood says, the sooner we get this through the process, the better. It's our job to sell to legislation. They did do that. And they did do that, okay? So there you go. That gives you an idea of how we got to where we are today in terms of the conversations, okay? Financial risks. And it's very telling. Very telling. Now I'll get back to your comments. So, hey, John. Hey, Mike Hunt. How are you? Micah Hunt. I'm sorry. And Eric Madison says, I wonder if we can get Fortress to work with MGM to build a hotel on the Coliseum site next to the Raiders Stadium or remodeled stadium. That's an idea. And James McClendon says, the banks aren't in the position to do what Adelson could have done to uplift the project and see it through. Correct. Quite correct. And Ed Reed says, I've said and will continue to say there is a deal going on to stay in Oakland. Keep it up, Zen. Thank you, Ed. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. So that's where we're at right now. We've got... This is a problem. This is a problem child of a project. Without question. Folks, it is 11:04, and I'm going to undo the unusual thing and stop because I've got to get up early for yet another flight. Another flight. And as I said, there are 50 of you here, so I'm not going anywhere because there's 50 of you here. I'll stick around a little longer because there's 50 of you here, all right? And hello, everybody. Welcome to Zenny62 and the headline, Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas NFL Stadium soil study, cost overrun problem before groundbreaking, okay? And I'm putting this out, which I didn't do earlier, on Twitter, and I should have, because I want everybody to see it and then come on in and, you know, join the live stream, right? Come on in and join the fun. That song, come on and enjoy the fun. Every day is a way, whatever, right? Hashtag NFL. So that's away, all right? Then maybe I can get another one. Yeah, it would be great to have Steve Sisolak on as a guest, although saying that is one thing and having that be reality is quite another, isn't it? At least I'll put this on Facebook as well, post to Facebook, and then have a link here, like so. Maybe not. Oh, right here. Got it. There. And then back. Boom. And post and tag people. And got it. Okay. Got it. And one more. Raider Nation. Oops, excuse me. Undo. Here, okay. Like so. And there, if you wonder when I'm putting this up on Twitter again. And this hashtag is hashtag Raiders NFL. All right, there. Got it. Okay, now back to the conversation for a short time. All right. James McClendon says, is this project on life support? Yet, as far as I'm concerned, it already is. And James McClendon says, excuse the typo on my last comment, which was... Mike Hunt said, did you see Gary and Conley call Raider fans bums on Twitter after the Chiefs game? No, I didn't see that. James McClendon says, so Zinster, how are the Raiders to fund the project when the overall price tag is to grow? Well, see, that's the problem. And you say, how are they to fund it? Look, you give up. If you can't do something, you just simply let it die a quiet death and pursue. Ideally, they should do what they've not done in their history, which is actually actively on their own pursue a new stadium here in Oakland, complete with a model, bells and whistles. And think about this: all those designs they have out there for a stadium in the Nevada in Las Vegas that were originally plans for Carson, they can simply bring those to Oakland and adjust them. I think it'd be fantastic for the Coliseum. So the Raiders really technically are designing a stadium. If you think about it from an entirely other perspective, you buy into the idea of the Raiders being sort of nomadic. You could say that the stadium that they're building is actually for Oakland already. You can actually make that argument. So there you go, Mr. McClendon. Hey, by the way, don't forget, for those of you who are out there, and there's a lot of you right now, This is a double shares invest night, so please invest in Zinni 62. Your dollar investments keep us going and keep the great info coming. Wiggle Baby says, hey, Zinni, what would you guess are the costs for Mark to build in Oakland versus Las Vegas? You said the other day Las Vegas will cost 1.7 billion for Mark alone. Actually, it's costing 3 billion. 3.04 billion. You just showed up, Wiggle Baby. It's 3.4 billion. In fact, Wiggle Babies, you can also read the text in the description there, right? But to answer your question, in Oakland, it's going to cost about 1.6 billion dollars. Originally, it was like 1.3 billion, but just from experience, I think it's smart to tack on an additional $300 million in terms of cost overruns. So you'll get 3.6, 3.7 billion. The stadium plan that I came up with was actually 2 stadiums for 1.9 billion. So look, can you do it for cheaper in Oakland? You can do it for cheaper in Oakland because of the lack of infrastructure problem. The infrastructure is already paid for. It's 124 million, and that was the city covering it, not the Raiders. And the highway, look, we already have it there. You don't have to do anything. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful position for them to be in. Just build there, upgrade. They now will have the land to themselves. Why not? So yeah. John Mark says, watch horror films, keep America strong. Thank you. Moogle Baby says, I meant more out of pocket since B of A wasn't doing anything more than, what, $850 million. Then Las Vegas has the $750 million project, public. Mark has to cover the rest, right? Didn't you say 1.7 billion? Let me figure this. Let me just give you a number right off the bat so you're not, a new number, because it's a good question. It calls for a new number. All right, I'll tell you. Okay, the difference that Mark has to cough up is 940 in terms of cost overruns. 940 million. That's the difference. His team investment is 500 million, public 750, private 850. That's 2.1 billion. That leaves him $940 million short. So there it is. It's 940 million. That's to build it. Now the operating cost issue, that's the cost overrun issue. He still has the operating revenue issue as another problem that has to be solved. Okay. All right. So hope you got that one. All right. So again, anybody want to buy me a cup of coffee so I can wake up and catch my flight in the morning? Would be nice. Oh boy, double shares night, and then I distribute. So but that's, in addition, we've got, let me see if I missed your other comments here. And yeah, and the new stadium in Oakland is far cheaper because look, you don't have the relocation fee. And Kevin KD talks about rumors about the Chargers moving, right. And they may likely head back to San Diego. Pedro asked the question, would Adelson step in if another team approached Las Vegas? That's a question I've tried to find the answer to for some time. He says Chargers are stuck in LA. He could cover some cost, relocation fee. Look, I'd like to find out what their thinking is on that, because one of Adelson's good friends is Bob Kraft, who owns the Patriots, and also Jerry Jones, right? And they both know President Trump. So there's enough relationships there to make something like that happen. Just whether or not it will is another story. I'm trying to find out. Now, Corvette says, if Mark built in Oakland, would he have to borrow the money from B of A to build it? No, actually he wouldn't. What Fortress had set up really worked for the Raiders. Regal Baby says Oakland was doing 300 million, NFL 300 million, Mark 500, and the rest would be from lot whatever financing. That's right. The Oakland Alameda County was 350 million, Ed Reed says, time to put your ego aside, Mark. You don't need to stay in a town for another 4 to 5 years if you don't want to talk to Oakland. And Bouse Ruler, hey, Bouse says, go to bed, Zinni. And thank you for the investment, everybody. I say, hey, Bouse, invest. Buy me a cup of coffee so I can wake up. James McClendon says that 940 million overruns is at today's price tag is right and would escalate in future overruns. You know, that's a good question. It basically would. That's right. And Joseph Bensman says, was just wondering, Zinni, what are your thoughts on Roger Goodell? Do you approve of how he's done as commissioner? Yeah, he's a friend. And I do approve of the job that he has done as commissioner, because the question is, who would be better? They've groomed him for some time. I remember when I first heard that they were grooming Roger, and that was 1996. You know, back that far. When I was meeting the late Alo Casal. Was he late? Is he still with us? Alo Casal, the Raiders executive assistant, for lunch to talk about reinitiating the 49er Raider preseason game. And I learned all my basic NFL politics from that. But Basharula says, let's get a GoFundMe page and see if Zinni will go away. No, I'm not. 32 Assassin says, a conspiracy theory, NFL owners want Mark to go broke, take over a team, install ownership group. Yeah. I've heard that before. I've heard that before. But I don't know, I've heard that before, and I've kind of wonder if talk like that hurts Mark. It's got to know that there are people out there who think that your NFL owner brethren don't like you and trying to push you out. That's got to hurt. I don't think that's the case personally. I really don't. I really don't. You hate to see somebody's feelings hurt like that. It just is more than unfortunate, to say the least. Okay, it really is. It really is. All right, it's 11:16. I really got to go to bed because I really got to wake up in the morning and get to the airport if this flight looks good. And just as I say that, there's 50 people here. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Zinni 62. And and I will tell you what. I will... No, Mr. McClendon, I'm in Oakland. I will do another live stream on this tomorrow because this is a very important subject. And in the event that I am here, it'll be an early live stream, but I will, like 7-ish, 7 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific, all right? And in the event that I'm back in Atlanta, it'll be 10 o'clock. What nice. I'm at 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock in the East. So, yeah, all right. But I believe that, yeah. So Brian C. says, this is, why do I do this? There's no stopping it. Well, I think you missed the point, Brian C. It's not a matter of stopping it. It's a matter of telling the truth about it. Okay? I mean, as I know development, I'm only pointing out it'd be foolish to go forward. If you say there's no stopping it, you're expressing faith in something more so. I'm going to ask you, do you believe in God? And if your answer is no, or, if your answer is no, then I ask, hey, thank you for the investment, Paul. If your answer is no, then why do you believe in something that's earthbound when you don't even believe in the thing that brought us here? And you don't even believe, and why do you believe in something that you really don't understand? Because think about your question. It's happening. Why is it happening? Okay? I'm asking, why is it happening? And then let's think about that even more. I want to drill that. I want to drill down there, okay? Brian, see, I want to drill that down because I want you to think about what you just put out there. Okay, consider this. You say it's happening, but the land hasn't been turned over to the Las Vegas Stadium Authority. Okay? You say it's happening. You say it's happening. No, it's not. It's not. Brian says it's futile to argue about finances. No, it isn't. No, it's not. I mean, that's like saying that it's futile to argue over how much money you have, but you're considering buying a suit. Well, you have to consider how much money you've got. So that's a ridiculous comment. So I go back to my point, though. The bond issue for the subsidy hasn't been let. In other words, there is no public subsidy. Okay? That's not out there. So you say it's happening. Where is this happening? You know, one thing that I can tell you is happening, that I can see, all right, is this. If there's a drop-dead date with this project for the Raiders, and it's May 16th, 2018, if the Raiders don't have all of their stuff together, documents and everything else, it reverts to UNLV. And that's more of a likelihood than anything else. I talked to an NFL owner about this last week. I told him the date. You know what this very seasoned NFL owner said to me? That's not a lot of time. That's what he said to me. These guys know stadium development. So you are undoubtedly annoyed that I'm pointing out problems in this project. But if you truly consider yourself a fan of the Raiders, you should want the Raiders to have the best deal possible. If you truly consider yourself a fan of Vegas, then you don't want Vegas to get in a situation where it's ultimately embarrassed. But that's what you're asking for by basically saying, shut up, Zinni, and say nothing. That's what you're saying. And I'm not going to do that. Okay? I'm not going to do that. All right? So, as Bao says, if you're a fan of the Raiders, you don't want them in Vegas. Right. And so Brian says, I don't want to shut you up, Zinni. I appreciate that, Brian. I appreciate that. But Bao is right. I mean, you don't want the Raiders to be in a bad deal. And again, what drives me to look at this is the fact that no one else... It's not just the fact that no one else is, but I have a unique background that allows me to do it. All right? Joseph Benson says, but you feel like the move is a sure thing? Me? No, I don't. I don't. And because, again, and I said this before, I only look at what is. The Raiders are here, and they're trying to stay here for, what, 3 more years. 2017, 18, 19, 20, 4 years, 21, 5 years, 22, 6 years. That's another 6 years. Think about that. That's 6 freaking years. All right? So, that's what I see. I don't see the Raiders actually moving to Vegas. I don't look at what is. I don't see them looking to refurbish Sam Boyd Stadium, which is, for all practical purposes, unrefurbishable anyway. I don't see any of that. I see an incredible fan base here that arguably has driven them to incredible heights. Okay? Wiggle Baby says, good question. If the Raiders end up building in Oakland, how long do they own the Las Vegas territory, since another team might want to relocate or expand? That would have to happen by NFL action. In other words, another vote to allow a team to take that area. All right? James Clinton says, Zinni from here, thanks. Mark says, keep up the good fight, Zinni. Raiders belong in Oakland, thank you. Joseph Binsman says, no, I'm asking Brian. Oh, you're asking Brian, oh, I see, yeah. Brian, he's asking you if you feel like the move is a sure thing. Why is that? Okay. But I think Brian is sort of being, what's the term? It's like contrarian to ask a question to draw out an answer. And I understand that. That's fine. Fuck, no, I don't understand it. Fucking ban him. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Oh, my. All right, folks. Oh. So, again, tomorrow... Jamal! How are you? He says, what team will go if the Raiders don't go? The Jaguars? Now, the Raiders move is not a done deal. I would say the Jaguars are a good candidate. James McClendon says, this Vegas move sounds like a hoax. It's not a hoax. It started off as very real. It started off with Mr. Adelson. Okay? Now, again, I say to everybody, the key is, if you want to get a look at this project, who shows up at the groundbreaking? For example, you know, I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm going to see if Governor Sandoval has tweeted anything at all about the groundbreaking. Okay? Now, Governor Sandoval has this retweet of the Embassy of Poland. Governor Sandoval hasn't tweeted anything out since October 19th. He has sent out nothing about the Raiders. Tweets and replies. Nothing. Okay? So we don't know if Governor Sandoval is going to be there. And that's the key. You know, you want the Governor Sandoval there. All right? Now, I'm typing groundbreaking and then Raiders in Twitter. All right? Excuse me. Raiders. All right. And Raiders put out this media advisory. Media must check in by 3:30 p.m. It's on Twitter. And my cost overrun tweet is out there. And Sisolak says, Raiders Vegas Stadium groundbreaking is confirmed for November 13th on location Russell Road and Hacienda Avenue. Okay? And, all right, so November 13th. But who's going to be there? All right? And Sisolak's talking about it. So Sisolak is there. Now, see, this is what a groundbreaking looks like, folks. This is, you want to know what a groundbreaking... Here's one. This is like an elementary example. A bunch of dudes shoveling dirt. That's all that is. Okay? It's an aquatic center. All right? That's what that is. A bunch of dudes shoveling dirt. Really, it should be a bunch of guys and gals shoveling dirt. All right? So... But Steve Wolford says geological testing continues on Vegas Stadium site. Oh, boy. I'm looking at this groundbreaking news because I'm trying to find out what other dignitaries are going to be there. Groundbreaking Raiders. I see nothing. I see media advisory, Steve Sisolak, you know, Jason La Conforta, some guy named Stan Colby, and yeah, that's it. I see nothing. I mean, nothing. But I tell you what, when this live stream is up, boy, the only news they're going to hear about the groundbreaking is about this cost overrun problem, excuse me. Ooh, doggy. Now, Eric Madison says they won't make the deadline of the groundbreaking November 13th. The Raiders are still doing soil sampling on site. No, no, that's not true, Eric. Oh, God. Eric, you keep doing that misinformation stuff. And I know you don't mean to. No, that was Eric Young the other night. Not you, Eric. Sorry about that. It's two Erics. Both you Erics are screwed up, man. Doggone it. Stop doing that. All right, here's the point. A groundbreaking is symbolic. You can have studies and soil sample, all that going on back there, right? But you go ahead and you move your dirt, say some speeches, go to have a steak dinner, and you're done. Or maybe you're done and then you have your steak dinner. Okay. I like steak, all right? So, EJ Bay came for the dirty talk about soil. And Brian asked, will I be there? I should go. I don't know why. Steve Reese says, wait and see what happens. We all have opinions, biased or not. Stacy Reed. But Stacy, no, Stacy, I want to straighten you out on something, okay? You don't do any homework. You just say stuff. I do homework. So the minute you do homework, I'll respect what you say. But you've done nothing. No spreadsheets, no sources, no nothing. Nothing. So, you know, I'd rather have Brian C. asking me rhetorical questions than your constant crap, because that's really what it is. I mean, you bring nothing to the table. I'm just being honest. You bring nothing to the table in terms of information that advances the conversation. Nothing. You don't know anybody involved with a project, so you can't give us any concrete information there. And if you did, and you found out bad news, would you tell us? No. But even then, would you know what bad news would be, given, you know, that you don't have the kind of background to understand it? No. So, you know, Stacey Reese says, yes, I would. I seriously doubt it. Anyway, I'm just saying, okay? Because, again, I'm the only person involved in covering this that's actually done any math on this damn thing. I mean, real math. And that's sad. Okay? So, Wiggle Baby says, Zinni, when the Warriors move into their new arena, will the Oracle be up to modern standards for a possible NHL team? You know, I'm glad you asked that, Wiggle Babies, because the Warriors, I don't think Stacy is a her, but at any rate, I think Stacy is a fake. But you know, I think Stacy is something other than what Stacy purports to be. That's just my read of things. And so, so anyway, I don't, you know, I don't have, John Mark says, even Vegas did have this groundbreaking. There's nothing guaranteed the Oakland Raiders move to Vegas. Yeah, but that's true. ML Scott, thank you for the investment. How are you? Wow. So, oh, Stacy, I'm not mad. No, but I am exercised over information, you know. But you want to leave, that's your prerogative. Google Baby says, the Las Vegas deal is just bad. Economists are saying how it's the worst sports deal yet. Pedro says, that's why I follow you, and you can't get the info anywhere else. Right. And again, if we're positive info, like for example, if a major corporation had stepped forward and said that they're going to contribute $1 billion naming rights agreement, and they worked out something with Bank of America, which has $1 billion loan, I would say, hey, that's fantastic for the project, and that, in one fell swoop, solves the cost overrun problem. Because it would basically, that $1 billion contribution would pay for the loan with about $150 million left over, right? That could then be applied, you know, that could be applied to the overrun issue. So you'd have the operating cost issue solved with that. But where's that, but concretely, how that $1 billion of sponsorship would have to be done in a way where Bank of America would say, okay, we're providing you a loan, but is our name on this in any place? Where is it? And that will be a, you know, that would be the other question. How do we do that? But however, if you take a look at the Atlanta situation, Bank of America doesn't have exposure there. So take back what I said. What I said was wrong. That was wrong. That was wrong. But where's the $1 billion commitment in sponsorships? And it happened in Atlanta. And it happened in Atlanta not just because it's on the Falcons, but because of the population size. Will it happen? Will it happen in Vegas? And if so, by who? Which casino? Which combination? Is there enough of a business base in Atlanta to do that? Excuse me, not in Atlanta. I'm exhausted. In Las Vegas to do that. Is there enough of a business base in Las Vegas to do that? All right. I mean, let me see something here. I mean, just for grins. All right. Atlanta number. I better hurry up and go to bed. Atlanta number of Fortune 500 companies. Okay, Atlanta has 26 Metro Atlanta headquarter companies placed among the latest Fortune 1000. 18 Fortune 1000 companies are headquartered in Metro Atlanta, ranked higher on Fortune, okay? And this Atlanta region I'm about to have can brag about having 16 Fortune 500 companies. 16. So let's compare Las Vegas to that, all right? Let's see, Las Vegas. All right, Las Vegas or Nevada. How about Nevada? Nevada, Fortune 500 companies. So company list, Fortune 500 list by state for 2015. This is a list of Fortune 500 by companies by state. Okay. So Atlanta, okay, Nevada has 4. California has 53. Georgia has 19. You hear that? Georgia has 19 versus 4 for Nevada. And that translates into how much money in terms of sponsorships an NFL team can draw in Georgia, as the Atlanta Falcons have drawn $1 billion, versus Nevada, where the Raiders are less likely to draw that. They have 4. 4 versus 19. Georgia has more Fortune 500 companies than Florida. They've got more than any other. Virginia has, they have equal number to Virginia. Illinois, because Chicago has 34. So Georgia is a powerful, powerful state. Nevada, weak sauce. Nevada has fewer Fortune 500 companies by 1 than Arizona. Okay. California is next door at 53. So just, you know, it's not a fair comparison. Nevada is simply just not the economic power that Georgia is. And that translates into how much money the Raiders can hope to command from businesses in the area. All right. John Mark says, what's the number of sponsors if the Raiders are staying in Oakland? Wow. I mean, that's... There's 53 of the Fortune 500, right? 53. And locally, with Silicon Valley and the Tech Center, you got a huge number of possibilities. You could have tech events where you could have the whole East Side Club, West Side Club, different areas available for rent by tech people, companies who want to show off their wares in kiosks, right? And pay for that. There are a number of ways you could work with a tech community that haven't been explored. Google Baby says, Zinni, will the Oracle be up to modern standards for an NHL when Warriors move into the arena? Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. You know, this idea that Oracle Arena was built in 1998. So let's figure this out. 98, 2008, 2018. It's a 19-year-old stadium. It's not that old. It was rebuilt entirely. Excuse me. It was built anew entirely in 1998. It just needs changes in kitchens, a few upgrades to be considered 1,000% state-of-the-art. But this idea that it's not, that it's, quote, old, unquote, is silly. When I asked Joe Lacob Jr. about it, he pointed to, as an example of why Oracle is not state-of-the-art, this lack of satellite kitchens. You can build satellite kitchens anywhere you can around there. My argument with Oracle Arena is that, having sat in the BMW lounge, is that it's underutilized. They need to be selling every inch of that. The BMW Arena would be, or BMW Lounge would be great as a standalone restaurant where people can come in, you know, you have some Warriors and Raiders scenes and everything, and make it an event place to be on its own on non-game days. That's just one example. But to have a facility like that sit underused, literally unused for as many days as it does, is shameful. It's shameful, I'm just saying, all right? So, yeah, and CS Eric Masters is perfectly fine to me just as it is. Hey, folks, I got to go to bed, and I really thank everybody sticking around and these great numbers of people watching at this late a time. I got to catch a flight in the morning, you know, if it holds up. But see you all tomorrow. Thank you all. And I'm going to say thank you all. I'm going to say off to bed for me. See you all. See you all. And thanks. Deal. Thank you. See ya.